Again, representing DOT Commissioner O'Connor. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So we'd like to acknowledge to the members of the public our public comment process. So Fabiola, can you please read our public comment?
Yes. Members of the public, please be advised there will be 2 opportunities for the public to provide comment during the public comment portions of the meeting. You will be asked to provide your name and any organization with which you are affiliated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have our minutes from June 17th. Thank you, Jeffrey, for your work on that, and EBA governance staff. Board members, please state your name for the record when making a motion or second. Request motion to approve the June 17th meeting minutes.
Madam Chair, Skip Serino, I motion to approve the minutes of June the 17th.
Second.
Madam Chair, will it stand back? I'll just second that.
Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Chair's report. I have a few items to discuss. Some of them are also going to be discussed by Nat, so we'll have more of the discussion when he picks up on some of the things because we crossed over on a few items. Just want to start with the old taxation building. Just an observation. We have 3 tenants in there, as we've always mentioned, that we have not mothballed the building. We did have a little water infiltration that interrupted some of their work, and we've mitigated that. But what we learned is that the 3 tenants couldn't wait to get back in the building. They love the building. So state police is in there, CCRC, and we have division administration in part of that building.
Because what kinds of tenants are there?
They're state agencies. Cannabis Regulatory Commission, New Jersey State Police. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use acronyms. And the Division of Administration has this part of the building. Just wanted to. I thought that was interesting to hear. And then during that conversation, people worked for the state a long time. They said, "Oh, we love the building. We love the building." I think it was a maintenance issue more than anything that turned themselves in the building. So, just to keep that in mind. Next month,
Is this prohibiting the sale or acquisition?
they're all, we will put them somewhere else. That's not prohibiting the sale. We have, as you know, we did another study. We just got the final report regarding the financial viability, and that will be presented at the next meeting. So we just came today, I think. Just also wanted to mention, we've talked about presentations, and we're inviting the county executive and or his team to come in and present. I know Jeffrey has asked for this. Some of the items that Jeffrey has mentioned, and there are some others to talk about, County College, the Broad Street Corridor, Eagle Tavern, the 250th, and I'm also interested in the executive perspective, if he can share it, regarding our district as well as surrounding districts and the impact of Trenton and his work. So we are going to prepare a letter. I did reach out to his chief of staff and let her know that we will be inviting. We will prepare a letter. We'll include the topics. Of course, it's going to be up to them what they want to present. We'll let them know the topics that have come up and questions. If anybody has anything you want us to add to that list to put in the letter, we'll do so. So I just wanted to let everyone know about that. So,
And Joy, what's the timing for this? We think in the next couple.
well, we're going to get the letter out right away. We have 2 meetings scheduled. We'll be up to the county executive if he's available, or, we'll talk with his office about when it would be
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Our audit committee, we will be moving forward on that, and we do need a third member. We are able to also add staff from Treasury, so we're going to have someone from our financial area, an auditor, join us on that, and Willard and I are the other two on the committee, so we can move the audit forward. Julie, myself, and others participated in the Urban Land Institute review of the realignment of Route 29, and Nat's going to talk more about that. He is a member of the Urban Land Institute, and I think members that participate in that as well can add their remarks. And we also saw Jeffrey here, sat next to him at the Mercer County's public forum on the Route 29 local concept that the county has put together and funded a study. So again, Nat will talk about that during his comments. We talked a bit about maybe adding a meeting in January. We'll talk about what dates that could be. And I think governance will be in touch with folks about possible meeting dates. We did not have one in September, so we'd still have the same number of meetings, and we're just working out if we would amend the original list or if we would do a special meeting, which has other requirements regarding notice. So we'll work that out before. But I think governance will put a couple dates to check with everyone and hold so we can have a January meeting. We also will have an annual report that is traditionally due and voted on in February. We could try to have as much content already approved and discussed prior to February. We could do it at the January meeting, or we could.
Well, if that's the annual meeting.
If that becomes the annual meeting. So those are some conversations we've had. Often the annual meetings in February because traditionally CCRC did not have a January meeting. If we have a January meeting, we could do the annual report in January. Then I just want to turn it over to Nat, who's also going to talk a little bit about the ethics training that we have coming up, as well as additional training regarding the authority's powers and enabling statutes. That's coming up next week. I know everyone has signed up. It is mandatory. If you have any concerns or conflicts that have crept up, please reach out to Danielle on that. And I'd like to turn it over now to our managing director. Two exciting programs that we're going to talk about: the Trenton Revitalization Investment Fund and the Activate Trenton Downtown Grant. And I just want to thank Nat and EDA and Julie and other Treasury staff, as well as everyone on this board who participated in getting these to the point where they are now. And Chris, our legal eagle here, as well as his team, authorities unit. There was a lot of work behind this. So I just want to thank everyone for that. And we're excited to have Nat present this. You should have all received the memos in your packet, and I think we're ready to move forward. So.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll just tick through a couple of these items regarding the ethics training. It's again a reminder, it's half of the board next Monday, the 27th in the afternoon, the other half Tuesday, the 28th in the morning. In addition to the ethics component, which will take roughly half of the time, there will be an overview of procurement rules and also an overview of CCRC's authorities, so that it provides good context both for the procurement and the ethics pieces of that. On the Front Street Garage, I wanted to let everyone know that we have received our second invoice from the Trenton Parking Authority timely. They're making progress on pre-demolition work, so we don't see any issues right now with the timing. We've asked for schedule, and we'll keep you updated as we know more. There was a Treasury team that participated in the Trenton Downtown Association Revolutionary Run Walk last week. There were a couple hundred people who ran and walked. People on the street, Mayor Kishore, and many others were here. If you want to comment that on at some point. But brought a lot of
Run, Mayor?
Barely, I think that's what it's called. I can say he ran when he went past me, so I can't vouch for anything else.
So we all acknowledge that it happened. John Hatch was there as well. It was a good showing and brought a lot of attention to downtown. On October 8th, there was the opening of the Novella Center, the accelerator at 143 East State Street. There was a nice article about it a couple days later in the Trenton Times, profiling the 13 total businesses, of which 4 are Trenton businesses that are being incubated there. Stop by and see the windows are open. You see people working to grow the economy inside that space. I want to let people know I'm going to be meeting with the new managing director of that space later this week, just to talk about opportunities for us to support the businesses that are in there as they graduate and want to find places to set down roots. Again, Megashore, did you want to comment anything about that? I mean, you were at that event, many of your team were there.
Yeah, it's an exciting proposition. There, Novella is a group from Baltimore. They set up shop out in West Baltimore. They've been through a number of cohorts. It's an incubator, and about 6 years ago, the then council president and myself ventured down to Baltimore to see the presentation. After I think each participating entity gets $75,000 at the end of to start up, and it's a way of mentoring them into their business development plan. So yes, as you said, there's 13 business entities, and the good thing is they're from out of that. 9 of them are from out of Trenton, and they would have to establish themselves in Trenton. So it's a good way of, or at least having them think about establishing roots in Trenton during the course. And I spent some time with the cohorts, and they were very enthusiastic about the capital city, and they're eager to learn their business trade.
Can I ask a question, Mayor? So during this time, does your office have the opportunity to sort of pitch them on Trenton and show them around? And at some point during that, how many weeks is the first cohort?
I believe it's 14 weeks. And yeah, I spent some time at lunch just talking about Trenton and the history of Trenton, and a lot of them asked a lot of questions. But it gives them an opportunity while they're here to go out and explore, spend some time downtown, and just imagine where they could set up shop. A really enthusiastic group of prospective business entrepreneurs.
So did they stay an overnight? And if so, where?
At the hotel.
One of them, I spoke with one of them at the event who's from Morristown, and he's staying in a hotel for the 14-week duration. He's outside of Trenton, obviously, but, or not maybe obviously, but that he is staying nearby. I didn't get the particular hotel. That would have seemed too stalky. So, but it's, you know, it's nice. It's nice to have people really committed to the program. The other thing I just want to mention is that the Novella Center was also funded by the EDA, $7 million. It keeps them in that place for 3 years. So there'll be multiple cohorts that are cycling through multiple 14-week classes, and hopefully that's going to generate a lot of new businesses to populate the downtown. I just wanted to note that we got from our new webpage, which is up within a few days of having it on our first referral for interest in how we could help. A preschool was looking for new space. So we ended up showing space in 225 East State Street, and then referring them to Tom Russ to make, we didn't want to refer them to particular brokers, but so to the Trenton Downtown Association to make contact with other brokers or other owners of space in the area. And hopefully that will turn up something as well. Regarding the ULI TAP, I guess one of the things that I wanted to just highlight were a couple of it.
Can you
sorry.
the whole acronym?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the Urban Land Institute TAP Technical Assistance Panel. The Urban Land Institute is a nonprofit organization of public and private members who are in some way or another involved in the real estate industry. So it ranges from architects, transportation planners, landscape architects, market analysts, developers, builders, public officials, development authorities, redevelopment authorities, also planners. So it's really anyone who has something to do with the process of developing land. And it is, as I said, it's a nonprofit organization, and the technical assistance panel process is a pro bono service that is offered by the ULI to give advice most frequently to public sector entities, but also to private parties about what to do with a difficult to figure out real estate asset. And they convene a panel of experts whose expertise is critical to understanding that property. If it's a retail district, they'll obviously bring in more folks tailored to that. If it's more infrastructure related, they would bring in people who are more, keen to that side of things. The members of the panel give their time for free. There's a small charge that's basically administrative and pays for the Urban Land Institute staff to have hotels for the members of the panel, transportation costs for incidentals, for staff time. But it is essentially, you're getting senior level experts who are looking with fresh eyes, disinterested eyes, and trying to help a public agency think through a problem. And in this case, the problem is, or the challenge is, how to increase the economic benefit of land held around the state buildings, the Department of Labor, the new tax building, and turn it into an economic asset for the city of Trenton. And so that was what the panel was advising the county and us, the Treasury and CCRC on. And they made a presentation Friday the 10th. That was for draft PowerPoint presentation that they put together over the course of the day of the 10th after they'd interviewed stakeholders and reviewed materials. Over the next 3 months, they'll be putting together a final report that will have much, tighter graphics and a more complete explanation of the recommendations. But I think the three key recommendations that they made that were really interesting. One was a relocation of Warren Street, roughly 60 to 90 feet to the south and west, so that new development could be placed essentially where Warren Street is today, and provide an active street front facing the redeveloped park district, basically to cover the vicinity plan, so that there's not, dead space for an entire block.
Visually, that
Right.
would be moving Warren closer to the tax and lanes.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Just, so figure Warren.
Bends to the left.
So it would be closer to, like, if you're sitting in the taxation building, which we were during that presentation, and you looked out and there was some parking lots, a small executive lot, and then a larger lot, and the road was beyond it, you would move the road closer to those buildings to allow development on the other side between, the vicinity and that. So it would open up even more of a street-like corridor.
Right.
I just wanted to, because I know it's hard to visualize.
What's the expected continued life expectancy of vicinity?
The what?
Of the vicinity plan, I do not know that.
That would be vicinity's call, but I don't see them going anywhere, so.
But that was, I think that's the kind of new and sort of interesting and innovative insight that, we hadn't thought of, and it's definitely something to consider. Another was to put in place a management structure that is kind of coordinates all of the activity that it would be necessary to happen there. And the third is a recommendation to consolidate infrastructure on as compact a space as possible. So, for example, on the helipad to the south of the Department of Labor building, that might be an appropriate location to place a future parking structure, and then have a helipad on top of that, so that space is not locked up. You don't have two blocks locked up with infrastructure. You can consolidate them. So that's.
And of course, that would require a lot of coordination with. Okay. Nat, can you talk about the cadence of when the report will be here? Because maybe we'll have a report for the January meeting if we have the January meeting. So
We probably
we emphasized when we were talking, we want that report.
Right.
Timely.
Right. So we'll be prompting them. I don't have anything to add. We have been told approximately 90 days, but we're encouraging them to try and get something to us that we can share sooner than that.
So I know some folks were here. I know Julie did a lot of coordinating. She was there all day. It was great to see all of the people respond and come in and speak. I know some of the members here can talk about their experience. I sat with Jim Beach in our interview. It was very good. I think process. It was really nice to see so many people come out because in person. They also did virtual. Some folks didn't show, but I think we had a good cohort, very good attendance overall. I thought it was very interesting. I thought the presentation was very interesting. Not everybody saw the same vision as they did, and that's great. That's all up for discussion. I want to thank everyone for the work, and I don't know if anybody wants to comment who may have been interviewed or was there, or if Julie has any comments in addition. No? Anybody else?
I have a question. I was not able to make it.
Okay.
I'm just curious with respect to the Renaissance plan and the Trenton 250 plan, were they kind of part of the evaluation elements? Or was it something where they just totally went fresh? Either way is fine. I'm just trying to understand how that kind of played out.
They definitely reviewed those documents. They have a very extensive briefing book. Okay.
And Nat, did you mention you were part of the
I'm a member of the Urban Land Institute, and
You understand?
so yeah, and I've chaired a number of those technical assistance panels in the past, as well as been members of them, mostly in the Washington D.C. region. But actually, I was so excited by this that I've now rejoined the technical assistance panel committee for ULI. So
I would note the chair of this particular exercise was a Trenton, who now lives in Philadelphia and worked for a previous mayor there,
Right.
but he was from Trenton. He was very familiar, so it was great. He was wonderful.
One other thing I just did want to mention in that context is that Urban Land Institute has recently done a technical assistance panel in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that's focused on revitalization of that state capital. And I have started to follow Governor Hochul's Albany revitalization initiative, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to make a presentation on the different ways that state capitals in the Northeast have been looking at revitalization, what's been successful, what's not. So, think models we might want to follow, examples we might want to point to. So,
Thanks. Anything else from anyone or questions? Thanks, Nick.
thank you very much.
Are you done your report?
Well, actually, one other thing is I just want to update folks, which is that I checked in with the folks at the New Jersey, the State Historical Commission, and the commission received one application for a historical marker for the State House. And so that they will be processing that, but I think it's unless we in the Historical Commission extend the deadline for applications, which is a possibility, I think we can just close the door on that and reallocate the funds back to the operating account and for the programs to be available for the programs that we're considering today.
In that vein, if I can, Mr. Managing Director, presumably the State House would be covered by, and there's a sign there, by the Historical Commission's general statewide program. If they can't find room for the State House, what good are they, right? And that shouldn't come out of our budget, the one.
I can't speak to the details of the application.
Okay.
That's a good observation, Jeffrey.
And may I also observe that the website looks vastly improved, even if it still be in the process of being filled out.
Thank you very much. A lot of credit. Julie Krause has done a tremendous amount of work on it as well. So our Treasury IT team, a lot of folks contributed to that as well.
Now, when is the deadline for applications?
It was October 6th, I believe, was the deadline for applications. I think that's right.
Thank you. Any other questions for Nat? Okay, so I would like to offer public opportunity for public comment. Again, these are for agenda item specific comments. Fabiola, would you like to please read the comment policy for this section?
Each speaker should announce his or her name, organization affiliation, and the agenda topic on which the remarks will be given. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak and should limit comments to matters pertaining to today's meeting agenda. Staff will prompt the speaker once their time has expired. A speaker may not speak more than once during the same public comment period to ensure enough time is available for all those who wish to speak. Speakers may provide related documents, printed comments, or materials attached to an email. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone, member of the public, like to speak on agenda items?
I would, but as of 10:30 last night, I did not see the agenda on the website.
That's a surprise. It was posted.
Yeah.
Last week.
Look at the new website, be directed to the new website.
I looked at what Google said was the website. It may be that it's the old website, but
There's a redirect.
It should be a redirect, yeah.
And our team can confirm it
Yeah,
with the posted, right? Yes.
They're.
So, we can show you
it's okay.
today.
And I know what I'm speaking to.
So, you'd like to speak on the agenda? Thank you, Sally Lane.
My name is Sally Lane. I'm a Trenton resident who has come before this board previously. I serve on the boards of the Trenton Historical Society, the Trenton, lots of boards, and I am the chair of Crossroads of the American Revolution Board statewide. I'm here to address what I believe is a critical, and the items I want to speak about are the two items for future investment. I'm here to address what I believe is a critical need of the city of Trenton, the reestablishment of a visitor center. We are a little more than 8 months out from July 4th, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of American Independence from Great Britain. The hour-long battle that took place in Trenton streets on the morning of December 26, 1776, was not only Washington's first victory, but an unmistakable signal to people on both sides of the Atlantic that what had been a failing rebellion was now a full-scale war. That first victory resulted in Washington retaining much of his army through reenlistments and forced the British commander to abandon his trip to England for a winter's break at home. Lord George Germain, Secretary of State for the Colonies, told Parliament in 1779 that all our hopes were blasted by that unhappy affair at Trenton. And some of you will know that that is engraved on the door of the war memorial of the battle monument. The Battle of Trenton, the centerpiece of the campaign that historians call the 10 Crucial Days, changed the course of our history. But while a $17 million Washington Crossing Visitor Center rises 9 miles upstream from here, and the Princeton Battlefield Society, the American Battlefield Trust, and the state of New Jersey are investing in a $10 million plan for a more modest Princeton Battlefield Visitor Center, Trenton has neither a visitor center nor plans for one. New Jersey's capital city has no place to welcome visitors, no focal point for making Trenton a destination, no person charged with coordinating the efforts of our historic sites, museums, and supporting groups. 35 years ago, CCRC responded to the need by having the predecessor of DPMC, take over a historic building to house the visitor center. Operating costs were split between the city and CCRC, in part through the use of urban enterprise zone funding from the city. A nonprofit staffed and opened the visitor center to the public, at first weekdays, but soon 7 days a week. That organization, which I headed, played a central role in planning for the 225th anniversary, ran jazz festivals for the city, and provided training in Trenton history for the guards at state buildings and later the hotel staff. First impressions are important, but so is follow through. I urge CCRC to look again at providing this catalyst for heritage tourism. Like a hotel, it is an essential tool for Trenton's economic development.
Thank you. Sally, are you open to a couple of questions?
Sure.
Just for clarity, is that, and may we have a copy of that for the record? Okay, thank you. That visitor center, was that what was at the
The old Masonic Lodge.
Okay,
Yes.
that's right. I wondered. And the nonprofit that was the partner that you led at the time?
I created it on behalf,
Okay.
CCRC funded
So-
me as a consultant to CCRC to organize the nonprofit Trenton Convention Visitors Bureau.
So that is it's no longer active?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Any questions from Mayor?
I just have a comment. In all fairness to the city of Trenton, we were relying on the state that there was talk of an interpretive center.
Oh, I led that. I am in no way.
Commend you, but that's the reason why the
I
city.
I know
And then I-
through a year and a half, 2.5 years of slogging away at it. I'm very familiar.
So that is the reason why the Trenton was relying on that. We're strapped for cash and we're shortchanged by the state every
Yes,
year.
I'm simply suggesting that CCRC, as it has in the past,
I'm all for that.
be a catalyst.
And perhaps we could talk about that because somebody who has deep pockets, it would be great if they stepped up to the plate in light of the interpretive center just vanished.
Yeah, and as Sally knows, Treasury and EDA did do a lot of work advocating for that. It didn't come to fruition, but understand and certainly support that. So we can certainly talk about that and go back to the deep pocket people. Jeffrey?
Since you asked to speak on agenda items, I assume that you are attaching your exposition to agenda item H, creation of an Activate Trenton's Downtown Fund. I don't know whether you have seen any of the drafts till this point of what this would do. Do you see this funding window as sufficiently tailored to provide the support for a visitor center? And if you haven't seen it, maybe Nat can respond
I
whether,
have
what-
not seen it, but I have been talking to the UEZ officer at the city because the building that I occupied for 14 years is within the UEZ district. And that would provide additional funding, could provide additional funding. And that is in fact how the city funded their half of my budget years ago.
so if I may then, through our speaker, direct to Nat a question whether as defined here, Earth to Nat, as set out in this request for approval resolution. Does this allow us to make a grant in conjunction with a UEZ, Urban Enterprise Zone partnership for funding? And second, is the whole, surely a visitor center is something that could be funded out of that window?
Yeah, and so, and through the chair, I
Through the
just,
chair, then.
we are going to get a presentation on what
Yeah.
can be included, and of course, Sally, you're welcome to stay and listen to Nat prepare, present both of those items. You've received memos on them, and it might be better to kind of have
Right.
that substance there.
To
Good
answer
question.
them.
Yeah, good question, and we will, I think Nat can answer that in context of that, unless you want to say something now, Nat.
I mean, the only caution I would want to make is that I don't really, I cannot answer the question. Would this, would an application for this be consistent with the program? I can tell you what the program is, and the members of the public can form their own opinion about whether they can fit into it, but I think I would.
Because it's a grant, so we, and we are all talking publicly, so everyone's
Right.
open to this, but we don't want to necessarily talk about specific potential grantees. However,
We're not
she was
talking about the
also
grantee.
talking about CCRC outside of the grant funding, I believe.
Right.
And that was a jumping off point. So I just want to be clear so people
The
don't
first
think we're talking
question
about
Was
funding
whether
that through the grant.
any project, whether it be visitor center or anything else, can be done in a structured partnership with a, let's say, UEZ funded.
The program is established to contemplate exactly that.
That's what is in there, yeah.
Thank you.
I just want, if anybody's listening, to be clear that we're talking about the program
Yes.
in general. Okay. Thanks. Anybody, no one else have questions for Sally? Okay. Do we have any other members? Yes. That's please come forward.
I'm also going to speak to the same agenda. My name is John Hatch. I know most of you, longtime city resident and business owner. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Trenton Historical Society. I'm also on various other boards, Potteries of Trenton Society. I'm president of the board of the Capitol Philharmonic. Quick plug, our opening concert is on Saturday. It is going to be amazing at the War Memorial. And I just want to agree and amplify a couple of points that Sally made about the importance of having a visitor center. As somebody who lives here and has a business, it's just really shocking to me that we don't have a visitor center, a place where people can come and understand the city's history and all that we have to offer. And as Sally said, it's especially crucial with the 250th coming up. Even when Greater Trenton was in that building, I would periodically get calls from George Soa, especially from German tourists, because he knows that I speak German, so that I could help them, translate. So just that building is an ideal location, and it is really crucial to have a visitor center. And I'll say that the Trenton Historical Society, we're dismayed that there isn't a center, that there hasn't been funding for it. And that other crucial sites in the city of Trenton have also had their funding cut. And this is going to be a handoff to Michelle from the old barracks. The funding cut to the old barracks is especially shocking since it is such a crucial site related to the American Revolution, and it's consistently the top-ranked historic site in the state of New Jersey. It is just ridiculous that its funding has been cut. So I'm hoping that either through the grant program or through other potential CCR sources, that funding for the visitor center and sites like the old barracks can be found. Thank you.
Will you entertain a question?
Sure, of course.
So, I think we can have that. So,
Ad lib, but you're welcome to type it.
I recall fondly the visitor center when it was there.
Yep.
When did it go away and what funding was pooled at?
2006.
2006.
Is it because funding dried up? If it's too complicated, that's all right. That's
Okay. No, the Chamber of Commerce took it over.
Oh, okay.
They had a very different, they hired a marketing director.
Which chamber? The Mercer County Chamber?
Well, at the time, I think it was still Greater Trenton before, I'm a little, but it was.
It was a Princeton and a Mercer.
Yeah, I
So
guess.
it was the Mercer.
Yes.
And now they're combined.
So, it was run previously on a very small budget, open 7 days a week. The new director moved with the Chamber of Commerce to an office park in Hamilton. and was largely uninterested in it and
So it became a
bankrupt.
county visitor center instead of a.
It was bankrupt within 2 years, and the
Oh.
chamber was calling me to ask for help.
Okay.
I was then at DEP.
Okay, all right, I think that kind of
Yeah.
answers the question.
The Chamber of Commerce ran into very serious financial difficulties, and subsequently, that's why there is now a Princeton Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce. They had to collapse into the Princeton Chamber of Commerce to specifically answer the questions that Sally has raised.
That makes sense. We do recall that, and Princeton Chamber did come in.
They took it over.
Yeah.
Correct.
I have a question though. Wasn't TDA involved in managing that property?
No.
So this
It was
is
a separate, it was a nonprofit that, so that I could always say that I represented neither city nor state. I thought that was an important part of running it and being able to negotiate with both.
We might have had an office there.
Yeah.
We might have had staff there, because wasn't the
Who?
previous
Yes,
TDA had a
Oh,
staff?
After,
that's what I'm talking about.
when it was no longer,
Okay, so it was after.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Because I think TDA ran it for a while and then Greater Trenton came in
well,
and it was housed there for a while.
Yeah.
yes, but
Did TDA run it as a visitor center?
no,
Yes.
it
Yes.
attempted to take on part of the function. It was not, I mean, it was open sometimes.
Mhm.
It did some things, but the Trenton Convention and Visitors Bureau ceased to exist,
Mhm.
and that was a TDA operation.
Thank you. All right, thank you
Any
very
more
much.
questions? I can channel this out.
We're a little off,
Still made.
Chair's prerogative to go off. Michelle?
Since John so nicely handed on. Hi, I'm Michelle Doherty. I'm going to address the same items as well. I'm the executive director at the Old Barracks Museum. For those who aren't familiar with the Old Barracks, it was built in 1758 for the French and Indian War and was witness to the battles of Trenton during the Revolution. When the capital was developed, Front Street was built straight through the middle of the barracks, dividing it into two pieces for over a century. These two halves served lots of different purposes. At one time, the south side was a widow's home, and the north, it is rumored, may have been a house of ill repute. So it had lots of things going on over there. It wasn't until a group of determined patriotic women, including daughters of the American Revolution and colonial dames, took action that the barracks began its path to restoration. These women, who were members of Trenton's most influential families at the time, raised funds through tea parties and social events, and ultimately purchased the south side of the building in 1902. In 1914, the Old Barracks Association that they formed sold the south side to the state of New Jersey with a promise that the state would maintain the historic site, restore the building, and provide sufficient funding to support the building's preservation, operation, and public interpretation in perpetuity. The Old Barracks is one of the very few accredited museums in the state. In fact, only 3% of museums in the country are accredited, and it stands as a symbol of New Jersey's revolutionary heritage. Each year during Patriots Week, we partner with hundreds of volunteers to reenact the pivotal battles of Trenton right on the streets where they take place, drawing large crowds, supporting local businesses. The Old Barracks is not just a National Historic Landmark, it is a fixture in the Trenton community. This year, the museum was zeroed out of the state budget. Thanks to the support of Assemblyman Varelli and other advocates, we were able to recover $600,000, nearly half, but it is not enough to keep the museum open and staffed. Our small, very specialized staff of historians are irreplaceable. They are currently unaware of this situation so that we can avoid losing them because of their fear of wage instability while we fight for a solution for our funding, We are in the midst of a critical restoration. Some of you may have seen what's going on over there. We are getting a new roof, a new fence, modern climate control to protect the exhibits. It's been 124 years and we've never had our own thermostat. So this would be a big change and we'd be able to protect all of our artifacts. But none of that is going to matter without people to interpret educate, and welcome the public. Imagine the 250th celebrations here in Trenton with a beautifully fully restored barracks and no one inside to tell its story. That's the reality we are facing right now. Without restored and sustainable funding, we are doing all we can. We are meeting with stakeholders, applying for grants, but time is running out. We will have to notify staff soon, and then we will lose the staff that we have. Unfortunately, unlike those patriotic women that came before us, tea parties aren't going to be enough to keep a building running, and we need help to ensure that the old barracks is not silent and empty and continue to tell its story. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Of course, we can't talk specifically if they would like to apply for a grant, which is, they need this money by the end of the year, but yes.
How do we add $700 million to the state budget through the legislature and not resolve that problem? How do we do that? How do we do that? How do we add $700 million to a state budget and not resolve that? Kids go to there to understand the American Revolution and what happened here. And is there a better time for children to understand what's going on in the American Revolution as to what we're facing coming out of Washington, D.C.? How do we do that? How does the state government not support what is going on in that facility? That, I think, is outrageous.
You do get about 12,000 school children on a normal year through there. And all of Trenton schools are always free to visit the barracks.
I understand, and Michelle and I have been conversations. It's, I'm not going to speak for the people that, I didn't make that decision, Treasury did not make that decision, but, and I know that the money that was put back, because last year the funding was HEP, the state
Last year
and
they
half the
capped it and
legislature,
we
so
fought
legislature put their part back in. Treasury presented a full budget, and like all departments, we don't always get the request, but that your comments will be forwarded. And I know that there's support. I know we have done what we can for the physical piece. We've got more money, and DPMC supports the physical, which is what we legally can. We cannot support directly a nonprofit. So there are ways to get more money, would probably require legislation at this point because the Appropriations Act was already completed and we can't directly send to
I
them.
understand that. I understand
Well,
that.
I think your
But
question is rhetorical because I can't
I
answer.
understand that, Joanne.
Yeah, but Skip, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that, the people here can't answer that, but we will pass your comments to the governor's office.
There's a thing called JBOC. There is a mechanism to be able to resolve this problem. There's a mechanism to resolve this problem. And the legislature is coming back in November. There is a mechanism to resolve this problem.
I agree.
And
I think
there is a boatload of money sitting in surplus. What they're asking for is a minutia of amount of money relative to what the surplus is, especially when revenues are up 4.4% in the month of September, in the first quarter.
Yeah. And I think all of those mechanisms that you were aware of are being discussed. So that's all I have to say. Go ahead, Meg.
I did write to the governor and the legislative delegation putting this out. I would encourage CCRC to issue a statement or resolution in support of continued funding. I stand ready to do that. If we can do that.
I would agree with you about that, Mayor.
I was second that. I was just going to ask if that's something we can do.
Yeah, that we have asked people to send in letters of support. Thank you for doing that for us, just to get as many voices as we can advocating for the barracks. It should not be closed during those celebrations. And July 4th, 2026 is actually fiscal 27, so it's not a problem that's going to go away. And it would be really sad to have 10 Crucial Days site with no Trenton representation. So.
And I just want to thank you and your organization because you run you do not ask for anything beyond what you need. I think your ask to run was very appropriate, and we appreciate that because some people could come in with more and say, but they're very detailed. You really have done a great job, and your CFO, the more recent, have done a great job of really putting your books in line and making sure that you justify every penny. So I just want to tell you, having seen all that and been in the presentation, I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. We do try to keep our wish list items to grants
You do.
and outside funding.
Yes, because we cannot do direct money for that piece of it. We
try to
can
get
do for the
essentials.
physical piece, but not that. Mayor first and then Jeffrey?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to save it for new business, but I'd like to motion that CCRC issue a statement in support of full funding for the old barracks.
Just for funding.
Whatever Michelle kind of figures.
So our ask was our ask was 1.25. That is what we received previously. There was a resolution after we were zeroed out that got us to 600, so we are still short 600.
Right, so talking 650.
Yeah.
It was zeroed out during the process, so the legislators were able to get half of it, not the full amount. They could have too, so it's this date on
Other
both sides.
things got added for full amount,
Absolutely.
but that's how sausage and politics legislation is made. Two questions, if I can, Madam Chair. First,
Oh,
Michelle.
there's a motion on the table there that
Well, I'm sorry, but I second his motion.
Okay. All in favor? Any noes?
Aye.
I think that was an aye.
Yes.
It's an aye for me.
Okay. Any noes? Okay. Any abstentions? Anyone have a conflict? Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Now may I have two questions? First, Michelle, you told us that the old barracks was turned over to the state, and I presume it is still state-owned.
It is state-owned, and part of that agreement was that, I think they sold it for $1, and that then the state would take care of the building, the maintenance, and make sure that it was open and staffed for the public. We have all those deeds and records. The nonprofit of the Old Barracks Association is who I work for and who runs the historical interpretation, the programming, the exhibits, all of the things that the public comes and sees.
So the $600,000 that's been appropriated now for this year, last year's $1.25 million covered the maintenance and all that, or that was strictly to the nonprofit organization that operates it? The state separately out of some other account pays for sweeping the steps or whatever maintenance involved, the water bill.
So, yes and no. It's kind of a really complicated, the restoration that's going on now, for example, is partially funded by grant monies that we went out and got from the National Park Service and the Historic Commission, Historic Trust. And part of it is from the state. DPMC comes over if the pipes burst or the heat doesn't work or things like that, but we pay most of the other things. We have a maintenance person that is there that takes care of the building for us specifically. So it is a really complicated relationship, which is better now. It's
We've improved it.
we've improved it a lot. And right now during the construction, if anybody wants to peek their head in there, I mean, it's amazing what's going on.
So this then leads to my second question, which is the amount of money that you have gotten for the HVAC and other infrastructure improvements that visitors don't see and they don't appreciate, but which are essential to the operation. Some large portion of it, not additional grants, but didn't that come out of the, what was it, $25 million that had been taken out of the ARP? Is that right, the ARP funding? And there was a total allotment for historic whatever of 25 million. And
State-owned historic sites.
for 10 state-owned historic sites. And so the amount for what I will summarize as the HVAC improvements comes to how much, and was there any other amount in Trenton for
So
historic?
HVAC alone started at around $1 million. It's up to 3.3 because of the increase in costs for copper piping and all of that. It's not for additions to the design, it's cost. And the exterior is also at about 2.5 million, all of which completely ballooned in the last year.
So a total of 5? So Trenton got 5 million out of the 25.
No, I mean, if you want a breakdown, maybe we could get that
Yeah,
to you, but it would be a combination, some overages. We're moving around that 25 to make sure all of them are paid as things get bid out,
Right.
monies change. But Battle Monument has DEP working on for some of the grant.
Right, so
That's mayor.
we don't have any reason to complain about Trenton's share of the 25 million ARP money. All right, I'm very. No, but if that's the order of magnitude.
I just want to also mention that, again, great job by the barracks and what they're talking about. But one of the, when we discussed this, one of the points that we have made is that it is a state-owned building. And if we had to program it, it would be, just like the State Museum and the State Library, it would be a lot more money than the nonprofit that has come in. This is not the only historic building that has this kind of relationship, and they all kind of are in this tug of war between funding because the state can't fund outside of the Appropriate Act a nonprofit. So, but there are other methods, as Skip said, and I know we're working on that. I know the governor's office is working on it, but they do a great job, and we think that, we get more than our bang for the buck through having the experts at the barracks. So we'll continue to work with you, and we'll do a letter of support from the CCRC to have a resolution by the time, I know you had the 6 months. So they provided all the details that we have needed to present, we will do our best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Any other members of the public wish to speak on agenda items? Okay. So we are ready to move on to Nat we'll move on, present our 2 items.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So this item is.
Nat, do you want to use the podium or do you want to
Oh.
present from there? Oh, he's got his computer there.
Okay.
So this is an action to approve a policy memo and authorize funds for the Trenton Downtown Redevelopment Investment Fund. This is an authorization of up to $1.75 million. This is consistent with the spending plan that was approved in June. This is an investment opportunity that is geared towards property owners in the downtown district, CCRC district, who own mixed-use properties, and the objectives of the program of the fund are to increase population and economic activity in the CCRC district. A key feature of this investment fund is to create the CCRC as an investment partner with a developer who would, in the managing development role, redevelop, rehab, and tenant properties in the downtown district. The objective of the partnership is to enable a developer to redevelop property and earn a profit that is reasonable and appropriate as defined in the memo, and so that they will be incentivized to make investments that they might not have been incentivized economically to make before. The program establishes a ceiling of $600,000 for CCRC's investment participation, but of course it could be lower. As a gesture or demonstration of the seriousness of our investment partner, we would want them to put up a minimum of $200,000 to advance one of these partnerships and redevelopment projects. As the policy memo is written, CCRC has a wide discretion to consider opportunities and discuss opportunities with potential proposers. We can also approach developers and property owners proactively if we see an opportunity. And if there is an opportunity that we see, we have wide discretion to negotiate something that we think would make sense before bringing it to the board for approval of the term sheet. There's a rolling process for this, so as soon as the opportunity is officially advertised, we could receive proposals. There's no deadline for the program, so we could begin conversations immediately upon the posting of the opportunity. There is no further board action required until a term sheet would be negotiated and brought to the board for its consideration. Those are really, I think, the high points of this. I think we would contemplate an advertisement in mid-November. And as I said, it would be open from that point going forward. And I'd be happy to take any questions that members have.
1 second, Willard. Just for any board members that are online, please use the raise hand so we don't miss you as we discuss this with your questions. And then before Willard speaks, did you want to give an example that is particular of?
Sure. I mean, a generic example would be the owner of a 3-story building on, I'll just pick a street, East State Street, that has vacant residential units on the upper floors and a vacant retail space on the ground floor. The building owner would come to us and would say, would present the economics of redevelopment, would present a request for us to contribute funds to the redevelopment, and would propose an investment relationship where they have first access to the operating income that is generated by the building. But when their negotiated target rate of return is hit, anything surplus to that would be returned to the CCRC. So there's an opportunity for CCRC to get a return on its investment. We would hope to have opportunities presented to us that would give us, a positive return. But I think the program also contemplates getting a negative return. And in those cases, one of the obligations of staff is to present to the board a set of public benefits from that redevelopment that justify a negative return. That's another feature of the program.
Thank you. Willard and then the mayor.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we had a backdrop to this, because we're talking about 1.75 for this, and then the next program we're talking about is like 1.25.
That's correct.
So that gives us the 3 million, and we also had the 250,000 for 2 other categories.
That's correct.
And that does not include the 750,000 that we just received.
That's correct.
I wanted the board to understand that we still have another 750,000 that we could use for other things, as opposed to trying to force fit whatever we may be trying to do with respect to this program and all the other programs.
That's correct. And I would say in both programs, the ceiling on the CCRC contribution is designed to allow us to play a significant role in either a grant award or an investment. But we wanted to have a ceiling that was low enough that we wouldn't consume all the funds on one particular project, that we would be able to make, a handful of awards in each program, or more if that allows it. But that's what the basis of the ceilings are. But yeah, Mr. Sandback's exactly right. The $750,000 can be allocated to either program to reflect demand and need,
Or something totally different.
or something totally separate.
Yes. Thank you.
Mayor?
Is it mandatory that a residential component be part of this?
No, it is mandatory that it be mixed. So it could be office on the ground floor or office on the upper floor, retail.
Jeffrey?
First, a very technical question. What is an inbound investment opportunity, and how does it differ from an outward bound or an upward bound or whatever? Because this says that the CCRC staff will review inbound investment opportunities. What does that
That, I guess,
narrowing mean
uh,
on the second page of this?
the idea is who is approaching whom about an opportunity. So a grant program would be set up so that everything, all proposals to us would be inbound. But if I'm walking down the street and I see a building that I think would be, appropriate for an award, I would, find out who the building owner was and I could approach them and say, what are your plans for the building? Are you planning a redevelopment? What are your issues? Would you entertain a partnership with us to do this? I mean, we may be in a situation where we don't need to approach anyone because we're already in enough conversations. We don't have enough program resources, but we have that ability to go out and sort of proactively and entrepreneurially,
Go out proactively and entrepreneurially.
outbound.
You gin up interest and then outward bounded. And that,
Outbounded.
when they then come back and say, here's my idea you put in my head, then it's an inbound
That's
and then
correct.
you can act.
Correct.
Okay.
That's it.
And then let me ask also, because you had raised this point of potential projects that would be estimated to have a quote negative rate of return. Isn't that what we call a grant? Isn't that a different kettle of fish than a loan? If you know it's going to be a money loser, why are we not acknowledging that this is a grant because of the public policy, public benefit analysis?
I mean, it's, that's kind of a tough, almost philosophical question to answer. The answer is, I think we're trying to stimulate investment. We're trying to use a private sector type of development tool. So it's more about the style and about who it's possible for us to make a grant to. So, I mean, I think it's easier to make a grant to a nonprofit. And it's, I think, just a little bit more challenging to make a grant to a business. I think there are higher hurdles to make sure that you're not giving funds away. So being a partner in a firm, in a business, allows us to assure that we are custodians of the funds. I think that's kind of more, it's about the kind of tool that we're using.
So you would have us and give you the leeway to explore such opportunities. You have to bring it back to the board anyway.
That's correct.
And then the board would decide, yeah, we'll take a chance on this one because the multiplier effects could be X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
I think it's a great provision.
Alvin?
It's a more question for clarifying for my part. So here we have a street level activity by activating currently vacant retail spaces. In my experience, most retail spaces are not owned by the business or the retailer. They're owned by the landlord.
Correct.
So in this program, will the landlord then have to, or you would have to reach out to the landlord, or can it be a combined package? Because I could see people wanting to do that, right? But they don't own the building.
So this is oriented towards the owner of the building.
Okay.
Or somebody who, through a purchased option, controls the building. So if you may not own it, but if you've got an option to own the building,
Okay.
then you effectively control it. So you could act as the owner, at least enough to kind of flesh out an economic partnership. But the thing that we are going to be asking people who come to us to come with is a tenant. And so if somebody says, part of the importance of that is we don't want to just activate the upper floors and leave the ground floor empty. We want it to have either a commercial tenant or a nonprofit tenant who is activating the street level. I keep on calling it retail space, but it really does not have to be retail space. It could be a pottery studio. It could be, mainstreaming, inmates back into the, a job training program. And you want it to be like the Novella Center. There's windows open, there's people inside, there's activity, there's people going in and out. It could be a health center. I keep on calling it retail, and I'm sorry that I apologize. That definitely is confusing things. I think of it as retail space. But the idea is they should come with a tenant. And if the tenant that they bring is a nonprofit who is paying a below market rent, then obviously in that situation, you're going to have more likely to have a negative return on the investment that CCRC is making. And that's the kind of situation that I'm envisioning where CCRC might get a positive return if you had a commercial rent paying tenant, a restaurant or something else on the ground floor. But in some cases, that commercial tenant might not be available. And what we want is the activated street front. So we would like, in that case, the potential redeveloper of building to approach an organization in the city that is doing something and saying, hey, we'd love to have you in our space, Trenton Circus Squad, some daycare program, somebody. So they are bringing us an economic proposal that is based on having rent-paying residential tenants or office tenants on the upper floor, and in the retail space, in the street level bay, an active user. That's the concept. I'm sorry if that was too much.
No, that's okay. Well,
So I have a question based on that. Do you see CCRC having a role in helping that landlord identify potential tenants, or is that something that we need to be hands off based on the money that we're granting?
I have thought about that, and it's an excellent question. It has occurred to me to host an event advertising this opportunity and advertising it to nonprofits as well as building owners. I think because it's rolling, that's something that I don't feel like we have to have in place right now, but it's definitely something that, my intent is to market it, publicize it to the nonprofit community, and as well as to the building owner community.
so,
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to follow up on that,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, Madam Chair, that sounds like a conversation with UEZ to also advertise to the for-profit community
Absolutely.
and have both sets of people there and saying, we have these programs, you can have a space here, even if you go to the Novella people and talk to some of their people and say, hey, here's a way for you to get a space if you can partner with a particular landlord, and we can help with the funding.
Right.
With on the building side, not the business side.
yeah, just one mention, and Danielle said, we have Chris here. I think it's important that some of these scenarios, they're all, especially in the beginning, going to be run through Nat with Chris, and just until everyone gets a feel, and we will have an opportunity at the ethics training. The first half is the state ethics, and then the second part is going to be about CCRC specifically. So as these questions and scenarios, are happening in your minds between now and then, I would jot them down. And as we move forward, we'll talk about if you're approached or if you want to approach, what the process will be, if you should reach out to Nat and have Nat approach on our behalf. I know a lot of you are very active. You have a lot of incoming from a lot of folks. We want to make sure that, no one's put in a rough spot, and that here's the process that we will follow. So, we want to take advantage of all of your worlds of influence and outreach so that we can get this out there. But I think some of these questions will be answered as we go along, and some we can pre-answer based on specific questions like this. I'm not telling you not to ask another question, please feel free to, but I just want to mention this does traverse into legal and ethics as well for us as board members. Mayor.
Just so I'm clear, if an entity comes in and wants to be a single purpose in the building, like a Dave and Buster's or a movie theater, would they be precluded from applying? They're going to take up the entire building.
As it is written right now, I think it would be,
Because I would ask us to amend to be a little bit flexible, because if somebody comes along like a Dave and Buster's and wants to establish themselves in Trenton, I think that we should.
If they want to, and their Dave and
There
Buster's
should be.
activates the first level.
So the one thing
Let's talk about the whole building.
Well, the whole, I mean, but at least it includes the
There
first
are
level.
entities that are multi-layered and
But I mean, would include first level, which is the basis of this. Is that something you
Yeah,
can
so
answer?
just to give you the history of why it was written the way it was mostly written to exclude 100% residential projects. So it was, the idea was to have the program focused on the downtown business district. But it could be rewritten to basically make it mixed use except for 100% residential.
Can we amend that now at the meeting, or do we need, because we'd like to vote on it?
So I suppose we could amend it now. I don't have it written and I'm not sure how we would notate it, but I don't think there's a reason we couldn't have like a motion to amend on the floor.
Where does it say multi-use?
I think it's ineligible. The reason I was a little hesitant is because the language I think says you have to, the CCR staff will consider any person or business entities that own or shall obtain rights to own mixed-use property. And there's what I want to talk more about internally myself. Well, what I would want to, but I suppose you could amend it now and completely resolve this is technically a building that uses all 3 floors for a single use could potentially be a mixed-use space or mixed-use property. You're just not using it for a mix of uses. But I also think if that is a concern, you should clarify it.
if you just do some kind of catch-all that,
Wait, let Mayor finish and then go ahead after that, Bob.
just, or any, I'm gonna have to sketch it out, but
And maybe we could amend it to have, at the discretion of the board, to allow for a single use in a building if it comports with activation of the.
Yeah, I mean, again, that is something that's up to staff and the board.
Can I ask you another question in line with this? If it passes to get this moving as is,
We can amend
if
it.
somebody, you can amend it next meeting, or we can amend it on the,
Can we
Okay.
do that? Yeah,
Yes.
pass it today and amend it
that's my
next
question.
meeting?
So-
Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do. Yeah, because that's the Attorney General's office to work on the amendment.
Doesn't it also have to comply with zoning and the capital district zoning standards? So I mean, it's gonna be compliant with all those things.
Right, but
Yeah.
the compliance with that is separate from if we put restrictions in here that could preclude that a Dave and Buster's 3 stories, which Dave and Buster's, if you're out there, we'd like to have you. So can we amend it, either the whole thing, or amend if we get outreach for such that NAC could come to the board and amend it?
I think, well, so the concern would be if you amend things because people come to you, that potentially.
Okay, so we could amend it prior to anyone coming to us.
Yeah, for example, you could approve it today and then you could amend it at the next meeting. The only thing would be, I think we would probably not want to do a notice of investment availability before if we were going to do that, you might not want to issue one and then have to issue a second one with an amendment. That's great.
I just, in order to move this, what is the most facile way to incorporate what the mayor has brought up so that we can move forward and vote on something today that expresses this change? Am I saying that right, Mayor?
yeah, I just put a catch-all at the end, or any such singular purpose commercial non-residential business. So if a manufacturer, a chocolate manufacturer wants to come in, but they need all 3 floors.
Yeah, so my question would be, do we have to go through an additional level of review again for that change? So as long as we don't have to do that.
That's what I'm aiming for here, that we can,
We just identify what part of the memo we're amending right now. Where are
In
we?
the eligible, there's some
Eligible.
projects.
for the first
paragraph.
one.
If I understand what's being proposed by the mayor, it's at the end of the sentence, the first paragraph, we would add, or any such single purpose building.
What
Any
sentence,
such
what sentence that?
Singular purpose commercial non-residential entity.
Right there.
The end of this,
So, okay,
I'm just FYI, I'm also a planner, so it's a question here. So because you own a mixed use property, but Chris's point is just because it's a mixed use, it's zoned mixed use, you're not going to the zoning board for a change, you're just going to say, what is the permitted use in the site? I don't know if you have to change anything.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Well, that was the
I'm
comment
saying,
that.
this is, and to me, this is a land use question. I mean, if it's, you're in a commercial district, there are permitted uses in the district. So is this the use of the property, or is it the use of the program that's allowing, what are the allowed uses?
I-
The ability to apply.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
However, the way Nat described it did not include that. And if we're voting on something, I think we have to be very clear on what we're agreeing to. So as a planner, you interpret that as allowing what the mayor, but that wasn't Nat's original. So I think we need to be very clear that and Bob, I want to get to you, that what we are interpreting this the way you are interpreting it, that it could be a zone for land, it doesn't say zone, the zone for mixed use, but it will be used for one of those uses, not more than one use in the same building. So I just think it's important that we're all in, whatever this says, and
I think the other question, sorry to
let me
interrupt
just,
you.
no,
Sorry.
but
Yeah.
let me just
Yeah.
finish, because I think the most important thing is that it legally underpins what we want to do,
Uh-huh.
and it also expresses what the board's intent is very clearly, so we're not 6 months from now trying to backtrack on what was discussed and written. So I understand your interpretation, but I don't think it's exactly what Nat had, which is
Yeah.
what prompted the mayor's question.
Is you know, what's the intended use of the property? And so I think question is like what's permitted under the law, and are all the properties in the CCRC district, are they already qualifying? Because are they already all mixed use or you're
Well, it
still?
depends on-
I don't think we need to, I don't think we
The
need
city would
to.
have to sign off on whether or not it's zoned for that, but they could also, if it's not zoned, get a variance.
A variance.
So I don't want us,
Right.
we shouldn't be restrained by what the zoning is
Yeah.
right now.
Well, so I think it was, great observation, especially with your planning background, but it's really important that it's what we are intending. Bob,
So I'm.
DCA, please.
Yeah, so it seems to make sense to do the change now.
I agree, if we can
And-
do it in a way that
And you have to,
moves us
you have to
forward.
include non-residential, single use.
For mixed use.
Well, that's, yeah, or non-residential, or non-residential, single use.
That's just a clarification question. It is the intent of the board to permit any investment except for a 100% residential investment.
Right.
Is that is agreed? Then we're clear on what the intent is, and we just need.
We don't even need to write that in. You can just take it that we're not in the business of financing housing projects, period. There's a whole other agency that does that. That this is, I don't know why we got bogged down. I don't see anything in here that says it has to be a mixed-use project.
It's mixed use property.
Does it? And
Property, right.
so I understand, and I agree that with all the board now sitting here, we would not need that. But if 2 years from now, someone pulls this up or appeals a decision that the board makes, I think clarity is imperative here to our intent. So if we have to add some words, technically we might not need to, especially with everyone sitting around the board right now. I think it's good to get this, if we agree to, we want to amendment to achieve the following, and then we let the attorneys come up with that wording that achieves what the mayor has indicated. I'm comfortable with that.
So, Madam Chair, just a quick suggestion. Chris, you can tell me if this works. Where you have the eligible proposals and projects shall obtain rights to own a single-use commercial or mixed-use property.
Right, in the first.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that whatever we say is not going to cause a.
That's my whole
Yeah,
point.
and then the rest of this all stays. All we put in is
That's my whole point.
single use commercial or.
Well, I would,
Oh, could be mixed use.
commercial.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen.
Nobody's gonna do that.
What did that mean? That's the mixed use. So it's single commercial.
But it's an application. It's still best.
When people are thinking exactly how to craft and where to insert those words. So and I think this was Elvin's question, if you have a business on the first floor, this does not allow us to help support a business on the first floor,
Unless they own the whole building.
unless it's the building owner.
No, you were talking about a tenant.
No, but that's what I'm
So,
trying to get at, because what I would like to see this to really be open to more,
so again, that we were on the mayor's question, going back to your question, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of this funding is geared at changes and activation that can't then move 6 months later to Hamilton or Ewing. So if it's someone who is just a tenant and is looking for, that's why it's called the first floor activation. So,
Tied to the building as.
because we can't invest in, why would we invest in something if they're gonna move? And going back to the mayor's question, do we have, Chris, a good handle on what we need to
Well,
change?
I've gotten two different proposals now. I've gotten one from the mayor that this was for any non-residential, at the end of the first paragraph, in eligible proposals and projects, we add or any non-such residential or any such non-residential single purpose building. And then I had another option, I think it was Willard, I might be mixing up, but to add right at obtain rights to own a single use commercial property or a mixed use property. I don't know which one the board wants to take.
I would say, Chris, from my standpoint, whichever is the broadest.
So, and do we need the exact wording right now?
Yes.
Well, if we're gonna. Yes. But I also wanna flag, the other thing is that we did this in conjunction with the governor's office, as well as the attorney general's office. The governor's office, I don't know if they're on the call.
Yeah, they're on
I don't know
the,
if-
Samuel Kovach or is on the call from the Governor's Authorities Unit.
I'm here. Jamira usually covers this.
Pardon?
Just covering.
That's sort of my concern, is that the people who would cover this normally from governor's office aren't here, and I don't know if they have an opinion about the change.
I personally, I think that it's, if I may, I think it's okay to make the change.
I think so
I think
too.
the intention is to make it a more viable program.
I would agree.
And I can't really tell you, it's
Just
not
why don't you-
necessarily a legal question of which one is broader. They're kind of,
Policy
you
question.
could, yes, it's,
All right.
this is a
So
choice.
the mayor's made a motion for this language that you just read to us. I'll second it to amend that, insert it there, and let's get on with it.
Would we like to
Well,
wait
you're
for the
not-
mayor to come back?
You're adding in non-residential.
Why don't you have Chris repeat it?
Yeah, once you
Even
get.
100% non-residential.
The paragraph will now read, CCRC staff will consider any persons or business entities that own or shall obtain rights to own mixed-use property, residential and retail and office or other combinations located within the capital city district as defined in the statute to be eligible to propose investments to CCRC, eligible proposers, and then at the end of that, I think it would be right in front of eligible proposers, or any such non-residential single-purpose business entity.
Mayor's. Right, that was the mayor's suggestion.
I don't want to legally,
Wait, we have this,
I've already seconded it.
second is, no, okay, are we okay to call a vote?
Yeah.
My governance and my attorney?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a vote to pass this resolution as amended?
Well,
No, we have to.
formally for you have to vote
To pass the amendment, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do we have a vote to amend the resolution as?
Your words.
Motion on the floor.
Was Elvin's taken care of?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
The motion from the
So
mayor
moved.
and a second from Jeffrey
Jeffrey.
Lorente to amend the language in the memo as was just stated out loud by our DAG, Chris K.
And Chris is gonna find the appropriate place to put that wording in the
Where
actual
he
study.
can put his reference.
Put this
That's not very obvious, but that's fine. Because you want to make that as a scripted also inside of the district.
Yeah.
So I think you want to have it after, before located.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
not,
powers
Will
inside
is
the
right,
district.
Will is right. This is the challenge of doing this live. So we would say, it would, that any person, business.
So it's the same wording, just a different place, so you can capture the rest of the
Yeah.
sentence.
But after that parenthetical defining a mixed use property.
Yes.
Yes,
That's a better place to put it.
yes, I agree.
Okay. So we're all agreed that same words put right after the parenthesis,
Yes.
all of which would be located
It
within.
precedes within the cap. So I don't think we could do anything outside of it.
So with that, Madam Chair, may we call the question?
That's what I've asked. Can we call the question? All in
I'm fine
favor?
with that, right? You're fine with that?
Yeah.
As I just
can't say that the governor's office would be okay with this, period. So,
For fucking Christ's sake.
Okay.
Okay. As just described, with its new location, do we have a motion to amend? Mayor is yes, Jeffrey is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Very tired eyes. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, now, are we, any more questions
Then,
before we?
That the board adopt the recommended.
Moved by Jeffrey, seconded by Elvin.
The Trenton Revitalization Investment Fund. Investment policy.
Okay, all in favor?
That's the title.
As of,
As a back. Do you have a second? Oh, no, have a second.
we have a second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
Aye.
Okay, that was an aye for aye, not an aye for no. Any abstentions? No. Okay, they, we passed, I think, our first test.
All right, we got a product.
All right, we are at 12:35. So we would like to expeditiously move to the next item for Nat to present. Thank you, good discussion. Better to have it right than not.
Yep. Thank you.
Terrific. So, like the previous item, this is a policy memo and funding authorization for up to $1.25 million for the Activate Trenton's Downtown Grant Program to increase participation, strengthen the economy, promote arts and heritage tourism. This would be a competitive program with a deadline proposed January 21st, but flexible depending on staff judgment about what the appropriate timing is. We are targeting November 17th or earlier to get this on the street and announced so that people have about 2 months to apply. We are making progress on this. We already have the notice of funding availability under review by the Office of Attorney General. The way it is set up, no further board action would be required before a suite of recommended applications were brought to the board for approval. So basically, by approving this program, you would be authorizing staff to take all necessary steps to manage the program, implement the program, and bring it back. Key features of this are that it is focused on nonprofits. It is has a ceiling of CCRC maximum grant of $400,000, minimum of $25,000. So that's the smallest application we would accept. And the again, I mean there are a number of details we're working on in the last month about just making sure that applicants are aware that if funds are used for construction, that it might trigger prevailing wage rules. We are not requiring an online portal. We are giving applicants the opportunity to basically demonstrate to us with materials that they think are most compelling in their own words, with their own materials, what would be beneficial and impactful in terms of meeting the program's goals. Their applications will be evaluated on a 100-point basis. The applicants would need to get a minimum of 75 points in the scoring to ensure, to be eligible for scoring, but the way that funds would be allocated would be in order of scoring. So if somebody comes in and gets 98 points, they're first in line with their funding application. The next one has 96 points, they're next in line for the remaining funds available, and so on until program funds are no longer allocable. That is that's a high-level overview of the program. And
The audience, it sounded like you said the largest award was 400,000.
It's 300.
oh, sorry, 300,000.
Yeah, I heard that too. So for clarity, it is, as the memo reads, 300,000 seal.
Thank you.
Are you entertaining questions? Right?
I'm entertaining.
All right. Mayor and then Jeffrey. And if anyone, a reminder to the board members, if you have questions, please raise your hand through the portal so we can see you.
I guess I just have questions or concerns about the word project. Narrow description of a project. So what is the definition of a project? Could it be, and I can't name names.
It could be an activity. It could be.
What about a business or a nonprofit?
This is the orange.
Continue on in their operation.
It could be that. It is. I mean, a project is not necessarily.
Shouldn't there be a better word? Not to be a pain in the ass.
Right.
I think it's important that we describe it as something that is not simply plugging a financing hole from something else. There is a project. There is something that they will undertake.
We're not plugging a hole.
Because let them suggest they're doing something that's new or distinctive.
Are they okay with that?
I think I asked you this
Wait,
before.
Willard, I did say Mayor and then Jeffrey, so I'm just trying to be.
The review committee.
It would be people who are familiar with the Trenton programs, with the CCRC, with the program. We haven't set that up yet, but they need to be independent of the program review or completeness review. So we haven't identified that yet.
So it's not a review committee of a committee of the board.
Staff.
Yeah.
Staff, who's staff?
Two of them right here. Well, she's Treasury staff, he's CCRC staff.
So that's the review committee.
Well, I think the review committee, how does EDA do their review committee?
So like typically, particular names of reviewers are not discussed in open
They're subject
forum.
matter experts.
Procedurally, there's a staff member who will do a completeness review to make sure all the minimum information was submitted. If that minimum information wasn't submitted, they'll get 10 days to supply it and cure it. Then they go on to the technical review. That will be another panel, someone different than who did the administrative review, of at least 3 members with 1 or 2 backup or bench in case one of the first 3 is unable or recused or out on
Members of this board.
No board members are part of the evaluation committee. It is a.
I think that was your question. That was Jeffrey's question.
And the reason why there was a little bit of, but not a red flag, maybe a pink flag, whatever, is that I recall there was some review committee that torpedoed whatever the proposal was from even being considered on the taxation building. Who are in this review committee and why don't they give them a shot to come back? But anyway, very good. So I think it's a wonderful plan, Nat, and I would be the first to move its adoption if nobody else gets there first.
Let's have all our questions.
Yes, that's right.
Willard, I think you had a question, or no? Was that the last?
I don't remember what the question was.
Okay. Do we have any questions? I know you've had the memo, so anyone watching is thinking we've had a chance to review. I know Nat has done outreach individually to members regarding both of these programs. Does anyone have a question prior to the motion? Seeing none?
Well, then,
Jeffrey is,
I move adoption of.
okay. Discussion, Willard? Do we have a second?
No, I just have
Second from Skip?
I just have one question. Look, with respect to, we at 1.25, do we have in our mind, not that we put it in this, we start getting close to that cap? Well, do we just cut things off, or is there?
That's a question for a future. That's
Okay.
not going to interfere with this.
Yeah.
What the board's prerogative is moving forward with funding will be up to the board, in my opinion.
Okay.
Anybody have any concerns about what Willard just brought up? If not, let's move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Great.
I didn't say aye.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Well, you just
All right, thank you, Nat. Congratulations to the board. You've now passed to your first in many years, decades of programs.
Good job, Nat. Good job.
Board.
Okay, Mayor, City of Trenton update.
Yeah, just real quick, there has been a hotel entity that's been selected by council. I think they have to formally ratify it, but it has been, they have been selected, and our UEZ program almost mirrors Nat's two programs, and so we'll be able to complement CCRC's generous grant and loan program.
Great, wonderful. Anything else, Mayor?
No, I just want to keep it short, but.
Okay.
Well, on that.
Yes. There we go.
Okay, Shopper.
Whatever this opportunity, whatever this hotel thing is, we're talking about this Front Street Hotel or Lafayette Street Hotel. Is there anything that will allow CCRC to recoup the lost investment from having sunk money into putting it up in the first place?
No.
I moved the conversation.
And then one other question, thinking of rules.
I would suggest that CCRC, if they are going to, that they transfer the money to the old barracks.
We are going to go to the hotel.
To reimburse the citizens.
No, he was looking for the hotel, the new hotel, to reimburse what the hotel received, which I don't think would be.
There's not gonna be enough money there, but Eagle Tavern, let me just say, is that intended now, since you have everything approved, packaged, moving?
3.5 million.
Okay, do you envision that as a mixed use that is restaurant food service or B&B with rooms? Or
I think a RFP or RFQ has to be issued to find the entity that will occupy the Eagle Tavern, but we're open to, I think it's something to be explored. Ideally, love to have food service of some type, and then if the second floor has to be offices, so be it.
rather than a historic inn kind of thing.
Yes.
Which is adjacent to, but not.
That would compete with your new hotel, right?
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Do we have any old business? Any members with old business? Seeing none, do we have new business? New business?
Just want to make a quick announcement. We have the Princeton Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce has this breakfast coming up on the November, I think it's the 12th. And the focus that's going to be the 250th anniversary. So Sally's one of the presenters, Richard Hunter, the mayor's going to give an opening. So just want to make sure everybody here knows that that's happening.
I did see that, and they mentioned that there'd be the state there. Do we know who the state representative?
I don't, Jamie from the county is going to be there. I'm not sure who's going to be from the state.
Great, thank you. Any other new business? Seeing none, we'd like to move to public comment. And again, does not have to be on the agenda. Fabiola, will you please, Fabiola, let everyone know what our policy is.
Each speaker should provide their name and any organization with which they are affiliated. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak and should limit comments to matters pertaining to the corporation. Staff will prompt the speaker once their time has expired. A speaker may not speak more than once during the same public comment period to ensure enough time is available for all those who wish to speak. Speaker may provide related documents, printed comments, or materials attached to an email.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to provide comment? We'll start with in the room and then move to online. Anyone in the room that, seeing none? Anyone online that would like to provide public comment? I don't see anyone. Don't hear anyone. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
I second it.
For the record, we're calling member
All right. I think we need a resolution.
Give opportunities for supper. It was good. Hi, Jeffrey. How are you?